policy of our minister. So that is what we're looking for in this call.
I'm sorry, Birgit, can I just add something in between?
Yes.
We've just started the recording, so we can send this meeting to people who are not available today. So I hope you are all okay with that in terms of privacy. If you're not, please let us know afterwards. And yeah, so if you don't want to be shown, you can turn off your camera, or yeah, please let us know if you're not okay with sharing this afterwards. That's all I wanted to say in between.
Thank you. So we published 2 multi-country thematic calls on improving quality education for displaced people and host communities. And we received 38 proposals for the 2 calls. 5 did not comply with the formal criteria. 4 were withdrawn. And at the end of the day, 29 were assessed, of which 13 were selected, for a total budget of around 5 million euros. The largest part of the 5 million euros went to the focus countries, Lebanon and Jordan. So in total, 5 proposals were positively assessed for those countries. Something else I need to say and I want to say is about the COVID-19 situation, because the call was published just around the COVID breakout, and most of the proposals paid attention to this health crisis and came up with alternative forms of training, which is good, of course, but we can also imagine that certain unexpected events will still occur in the course of implementation of the trainings. So we would like to urge you to keep us informed about that, and also follow the newsletter and the program updates that the Orange Knowledge program regularly publishes. Later on in this presentation, we will also share a link to the website where you can register for the program updates. Are there any questions so far? Remarks to make? I don't see anything. Okay, the next slides. I would like to give the floor to Jeroen to tell us something more about financial obligations.
Yes, thank you, Birgit. Yeah, so as said, I'm Jeroen de Vrede, working here at NAVIC as a financial officer, and therefore also responsible for the financial side of the Orange Knowledge program. And I understand, of course, that this is probably not the most exciting part for you participants, and I'll try to keep it short and only highlight the most important topics here, and not bother you too much with all the details of these financial obligations, which of course you can read in the grant conditions and obligations document that will also be shared with this presentation. So to start off with, of course, you've all been awarded with a grant exceeding, I believe, 200K for all of your projects. And that is, of course, based on an approved budget, which will serve as the guidance basically for the rest of the project, and also serve as the proof, let's say, for ultimately the financial reporting. And throughout the project, this budget should be your point of reference for your cost allocation. And afterwards, after the project has ended, for each of you, I believe that is a different timeline. You are obliged to submit both a narrative report, which is discussed at a later stage of this presentation, I believe, by Sophie. But from my perspective, the statement of expenditures and the financial report is most important. And these should both be shared within 2 months after the project has ended, and should include basically all costs that are incurred within the grant period, and those costs that are in line with the cost eligibility criteria, which are highlighted in the grant conditions and obligations. And as I believe all of your grants are exceeding 200K, I think the most important aspect to mention here is that all of these statement of expenditures should be accompanied by a auditor's report, whereby a third-party auditor actually reviews your statement of expenditures and all the procedures and documents underlying it, and objectively assess basically the quality of that report. And this is a very important document for NAFIC to ultimately assess the financial performance and settle the grant, so that we can compensate you and reimburse you for the costs that are incurred in this project. And I think last but not least on this slide, important to mention that for all projects where there is co-funding involved, it's important to explicitly differentiate in your report between those costs that are actually covered by the grant and those costs that are covered by your own or other parties' contributions in the form of co-funding. And that I think administratively flowing from that, the grant will be settled at the amount of eligible costs minus the minimum amount of co-funding that was agreed upon in your individual grant award letters. I see a question. I can answer it directly in the chat. The co-funding is not subject to the audit, I believe, but I also have to basically review the grant obligations and conditions, because this also differs between the different instruments that we offer. So to basically give you an exact answer, I would refer to the grant conditions and obligations that are attached to this presentation in, I believe, 2 slides. And then I will continue with the next one. Regarding the payment schedule, of course, an important aspect for you, because without these payments, you will not be able to implement these projects. We have a standard payment schedule in place for all of your projects with a 80% total advance payment, which is divided in equal tranches of 20%, and they are paid out evenly throughout the lifetime of your projects. And we are withholding a 20% final payment, which will be used to ultimately settle the final grant after we have reviewed and approved your financial reports and, of course, also your narrative reports. So that is the payment schedule in place. So 80% advanced and 20% withheld until the approval of the final report. And I would also want to highlight a few aspects of the statement of expenditures. There's a lot more detail to it, which you can find again in the grant obligations and conditions document. But I think it's important here to mention that in an ultimate, in a perfect world, of course, we would hope to see that your statement of expenditures is an exact copy, basically, of the approved budget. But we, of course, understand that throughout the project, all kinds of unforeseen circumstances can occur, and your statement of expenditures will most likely deviate in some cases quite substantially from your budget. And we, of course, would want to provide you with leeway for that. So we give you basically the room to deviate from your approved budget, and only request you to elaborate verbally and also in writing in the final report those deviations that are exceeding 25%, or basically the deviations of more than 25% from your original budget. So I think there's more than enough leeway for you to make your own decisions in where the cost should actually be allocated. And I think also important to mention is that all reports should be in euro, because that's also the currency that we are making the payments to you. And in case you are spending in local currency, which is likely the case, you are advised to use the average exchange rate of that specific month to also avoid heavy exchange rate fluctuations. And I think lastly here, also important to mention that we as NAFIC will not reimburse you for currency differences. So therefore we would advise you to exchange to local currency as close as possible to the actual moment that you are spending this money. So to avoid any inflation and currency rate differences that might not be reimbursed by NAFIC. And finally, some more formal items. Of course, these statements and the auditor report should be signed by the legal representative in place. And in case of the auditor's report, we would also request you to submit not only a soft copy, but also a hard copy, which was standard practice prior to COVID, of course. But we also allow you now to send a soft copy to us of this auditor's report as soon as you have it, so that we can directly start reviewing your report without any delays related to logistic issues in this current COVID situation. So feel free to send us a soft copy as soon as you have it, so that we can start reviewing as soon as your reports are finished. And I think that is most of the highlights that I wanted to share. Here in the next slide, I have included some of the documents that are relevant background material here. So the grant obligations and conditions, where you can find all details of these obligations, also all the cost eligibility criteria, and the audit protocol that has to be followed and that can be used to assign a third-party auditor. And also here a template for the statement of expenditures that you can use to create your final financial report. So that's it from my side. I see some questions in the chat. I will start. Let's see, the question from Ayman, sorry, from Messi.
It was already taken care of by the Dutch partner.
Oh, I see it.
But
where can I start then? Suzanne. Is there a preferred currency converter? There's not, because in normal circumstances, all converters should get you the same currency exchange rate. So there's no preferences from our side there.
Okay.
I see here a question from Albert. Can we add new budget lines? No, it's not allowed to add new budget lines because we would normally believe that deviations on the one budget line are compensated on the other existing budget lines. And if you are making changes to, for example, outputs and adding budget lines, this would be something that you are explicitly obliged to request NAFIC, and your contact person will then provide you either with green light to continue or red light to not do this. So it's not allowed to, on your own, to answer your question, add new budget lines. I hope that answers the question. And
thank you very much.
Yvonne is just introducing herself. So that's, I think, it. No more questions in the audience.
Thank you.
Okay, then I'll
just
the next slide.
Thank you very much, Jeroen. I maybe forgot to say that we would also we are also going to answer all the questions that are mentioned in the chat and forward the answers to you together with the PowerPoint presentation afterwards. Okay, the next slide. So I would like to tell you something about monitoring and evaluation. It is necessary that we get a clear picture of the effectiveness of all the activities that are taking place in the context of the Orange Knowledge Program. And that is why NAVIC set up a theory of change, which you all used to make the logical framework for the different tailor-made trainings. It was also, you were also asked to use the theory of change for migration of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Okay, so there are links on this sheet for you to take a look at. So the long-term impact that we would like to achieve is sustainable and inclusive development through strengthening of organizations. And this will be achieved by developing capacity, knowledge, and quality of individuals as well as organizations in TVET education and in higher education and in other fields related to priority themes in the OKP countries. For this specific goal, it must contribute to increased quality education and vocational training for refugees and internally displaced persons and host communities through the strengthening of capacity, knowledge, and quality of individuals as well as organizations, also in TVET and higher educations. And specifically, as I mentioned it before, this goal aims to remove barriers on student pathways to and during tertiary education. Yeah. Okay, so the medium-term impact is that education systems are of good quality, relevant and accessible, and organizations key to inclusive development are strengthened by the inflow of enhanced workforce, and partnerships between persons and organizations are inclusive and sustainable. Outcome is enhanced knowledge and skills of individuals and organizations in line with country and regional specific labor market needs and aiming at inclusiveness. Well, this is a schematic overview of the theory of change. In the on top you see the long-term impacts that we would like to support. The thematic outcomes is for OKP the 4 priority themes, and now for this goal specifically also the objective of the theory of change of migration. Sorry. Yeah, it is I don't want to overcomplicate it, but it is maybe difficult to understand right away, although I understand that you all saw this before, this picture. So I hope, and later on in the process, my colleague Sophie will talk about reporting. And we have to take into account, of course, the theory of change, and we have to measure effects and trying to find indicators. That is still, we are still discussing about the type of indicators that we should use. I think, Sophie, your hand was raised.
Yes, if I may, before you change the dia, may I add something about this dia? Because I would like to disagree with you, because I think this it's not complicated. We should. It's.
Sorry.
I think this picture is very simple, and I just want to make a little contribution. You see in the middle, you see a green line. So this is the more or less what you can expect as a sphere of influence of your project. So some of you must be asking themselves, why are we talking about so much further down the line than after our project ends? We are really happy. This is a very big difference from the previous programs. We understand that all the projects are busy with outputs, results, and that is great. But we have received the mission from the ministry to show that all the interventions that are financed contribute to the same long-term impact throughout all programs, throughout all instruments financed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And that is, I think, in everybody's interest to succeed to do so, because we want to continue being able to finance such programs like the one we are gathered for today. So it's just, please think about it as something positive, that we have to have the same point on the horizon, also, although it seems far away. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Okay, so as I just mentioned to you, we must also contribute to the results described in the theory of change of migration. And we would like to suggest some indicators to at least be able to aggregate information on the results of the 13 tailor-made trainings that will take place. And the indicators are mentioned on the slide. It is the number of participating people in formal and informal education and training, and it is the same as indicator as we use in the Orange Knowledge Program. We'd also like to know the number of people supported in developing income generating activities. It's also an OKP indicator. And we would like to have a breakdown in refugee and host community and gender for those indicators. Later on, the country managers will contact the project implementers to discuss these indicators and the log frame in total. So there is still time to make changes or adjust at least the log frame. Let's see if there are questions. Okay. I believe there are only questions about finances still, so I hope this is more or less clear. Sophie, I would like to give the floor to you.
Yes, thank you, Birgit. I would like to speak to you about the online monitoring tool we are using to for reporting and monitoring the Orange Knowledge projects. And this tool is called ACFO RSR. And I have three main messages. I would just like to touch upon the main features of ACFO. And then I have one slide about the roles and responsibility. But then I would like to take you on a journey on ACFO and go switch from the PowerPoint presentation to the website, just to give you a feeling of what ACFO is, and hopefully to make you enthusiastic about putting some updates on the ACFO website on your own page and filling it as well as possible. Yes. So a couple of main features. ACFO RSR, it stands for really simple reporting. From the front office, so let's say what you see as a project partner, it is user-friendly and it is easy reporting. Something that we think is important is that each project has a page of its own, and on this page you have at the same time information on the partners, summary of the project, and you are able to post some updates about the project activities. So we think this is important for transparency and visibility. And on the other hand, you also find on this page information about results and indicators. And this is actually the translation of the log frame. And this allows us to aggregate all the projects that are financed from Orange Knowledge Program, have an ACFO page. So for us, it makes it easy to quite quickly give an idea to the ministry, to the partners who ask for it. How many people followed a training? How many curricula were updated in the first year of Orange Knowledge? So for us, it's very handy for aggregation. And last but not least, ACFO RSR is YATI proof. YATI is an international aid transparency initiative. So also in relation to transparency, it's easy to report on where the money goes to. I keep looking at the chat. So if you have questions, I will answer them right away. Then I would like to come to the roles and responsibilities. Birgit, she mentioned it already, but the first step for you to get to know ACFO, it is through the log frame. So the first step is to fine tune together with your country manager the log frame. Let's say have a look at the indicators you chose. Maybe there are other indicators that could apply to your project. So that's the first step, and that's the joint responsibility of NEFIC and you. And then the ball comes to us. It means we have to create the project in ACFO, and this should be done quite quick at the beginning of the project. And once the project is created, it's public. Everybody can access it on ACFO. And then you can post updates. I will show you when I go to the website, I will show you what it looks like. When the reporting period is approaching, we will open in the tool the corresponding reporting period for you to fill in. And then you submit your progress report, the narrative part about the bottlenecks, the deviation, the achievements, and the indicators, so more the quantitative part. And then in the end, NEFIC is responsible for approving the project report. So that's it for the DIA. I will try to share my screen now. I see a question. Who is taking the first initiative to fine-tune the log frame? That is that should be the colleague from NEFIC, the country manager, should plan a meeting with you. Do I understand it well that we still can adjust the log frame? Well, in some case, I have not. I think I have almost never seen a log frame that you can adjust. That is. Filled in such a way that you can immediately introduce it to ACFO. I think it is because our log frame form is maybe not very user-friendly, but you will have to, I guess, to make adjustments, not in reducing the targets, but in adjusting. Let me try to share my screen. Do you? I don't have the impression that it is working. Yes, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So this is the ACFO RSR, and this is the page of NUFIC. So here you can find, if you look at the world map, you find all the projects that are currently published. So there are many more projects, but a big part of them hasn't been published yet. But these are all the projects that are currently published. And if you, the more you zoom, the more the projects on the left side adapt to the projects that you can see on the map. So this is for the region that is interesting for you. And let's say, I'd like to show you, let's say we take this project in Uganda and impunity of sexual and gender-based violence. So if you click on this project, this is an open page. You come to the page of the project. And here you see all the updates that the project partners have been uploading. You can click on the update. You find you can add videos, pictures. You can add a small text. So that's for the updates, and this is all the project collaborators can post updates. Here on the right side, you see project summary with a very short, few line summary, the dates, start and end, the partners, and here under a more detailed goals overview. I also want to show you this part. And this is the part where the log frame has been translated. So as you can see, this is a project focusing on the sexual and reproductive health and rights thematic. And if you click one of the result framework open, you see, for example, organizations perform better their core tasks. If you remember, that's an impact that Birgit mentioned in her presentation of the theory of change. And here under, these are all the indicators that this project chose and for which they set a target. And here you can see all these, this project has already been reporting in ACFO, and here you can see that for this indicator, they have already completed the target that they had set themselves. For the second indicator, they have completed a quarter, and so on and so on. So I will try to go back to, yes. I will stop sharing my screen because that's all I wanted to show you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions still? Sorry. No questions?
Yes, I see a question.
Yeah, I see also a question.
When will the pages be developed? So we are now creating the projects in ACFO. So we are now in the process of doing it. There's already a backlog for the existing TMT. That is completely correct. For the TMTs, there's a backlog. We try to not have such a backlog with the new TMT Plus. So that's we give now priority to these TMT Plus, let's say.
Okay. I'm trying to continue with the presentation.
And the guidelines, I see there's a question about if the guidelines are updated. This I should check. I will check, and if they are updated, I will put it in the chat later on.
Okay, so no questions. This means that we, oh, there are questions.
Are
Sophie?
project updates final as soon as you enter them in ACFO, or is still possible to change, adapt afterwards? It's the project. You mean the like the pictures and the videos? Yes, you can adapt them afterwards. Yes, yes.
And the question before that, does this mean we get access to ACFO after you set up the page? Did you already?
No, yes, thank you. I didn't see it. Yes, that's correct. Yes, yes. You can only access an ACFO page once it has been created, and we give you the link, the authorization. So this has to happen first.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we are well doing well with the time, I must say. So we will have a short break, if that's okay with you. After the break, we will continue with a presentation of the slides of the projects. There are 13 projects. Everybody will get 3 minutes to make a very short presentation. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to specify. So I would say enjoy your break. We'll be back in 10 minutes, if that's okay. Yes? We'll be back at 2:30.
Alrighty, see you then.
So is everybody back? We will start in a minute.
Yep.
So let's continue this meeting. I would like to say that there are also a number of people from the Netherlands Embassy that are taking part in this meeting, for your information. So thank you very much for attending this meeting. For the presentation of the projects, I have put the slides in the order of the trainings as in the document that I sent yesterday to you with the overview of trainings. So the first training to be presented is the one from Ethiopia. There's only one. So who can I give the floor to?
Thank you very much. You can give me the floor. My name is Geraldine Bourgeot from Maastricht University.
Thank you.
And I'll try to be short in explaining a very nice project with three partners in Ethiopia, one at the border with Somalia, the other one at the border with South Sudan, third one in the capital. But already the location shows that they have a lot of influx from refugees, but of course there's a lot of migration internally as well in Ethiopia. Hence the importance to adapt the training for trainers, for teachers in those communities better to deal with the children that they are teaching. So we have a train the teachers program at that level to prepare those teachers better to handle children with maybe traumatized backgrounds, with special needs in a often low resource environment. And we would like to do that including the child-to-child approach, which is an already existing program from UNICEF that includes health education and nutrition. The knowledge that children teach themselves, be it at school, but definitely at home, makes them a very good contributing person in the society of refugees. And the health education, you could see it as a direct information in terms of blending first aid skills or sanitation awareness in the training program for normal primary and secondary school children. But you can also look at it from a more integrated level, that if you have to teach mathematics and you want them to know that you drink a liter of water per day, how many cups do you need to drink of 200 milliliters? So then you have integrated health education into the normal training program. Let me stop now. There's much more to say, but it is 3 minutes is a very short period. If there are any more questions or links, other ones, I would like.
Have 1 minute.
Okay, then my question, especially to the other programs, because I read through the overview that you attached to the invitation, if there is any other program that is dealing with such kind of content, which I couldn't discover, but if I'm mistaken, please help me. Let's get in touch and see how we can collaborate.
Thank you very much. Well in time. Then the next slide, or the next presenter, is for Iraq from Sinop.
Hi, Hi everyone, I'm Carmen Curvers from SINOP. I will present one of the projects that we will be implementing in Iraq. This one is Boost Your Entrepreneurship Aspirations. We worked together for this project with MOLSA, the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs of the Kurdistan Regional Government, with Cordate and with UNESCO. Well, the formal training centers in Kurdistan, they fall under MOLSA. They are called VTCs, so Vocational Training Centers. And we will be working together with the VTC in Erbil with the aim of rolling out a program to the other 6 VTCs if possible after the project. We chose for Erbil because it's the main city or the main region where Syrian refugees are situated or located in Iraq, and youth employment is an ever-growing problem in the total in Iraq everywhere, to be honest, with more than 20% of youth outside of the workforce at the moment, and who do not have we do not think they will be finding work in the near future. So that's why we focus on entrepreneurship, because we think it's beneficial as it allows young people to opt for self-employment instead of seeking for employment in the economy. So in the past, the VTCs have known good practices, such as they have very strong relationships with the private sector, but these practices have been disrupted by political, social upheaval. So we try to contribute with this project as well to restoring some of these practices. So what we want to do, we want to develop an entrepreneurship training, a very practical curriculum, and we will do so within the framework of UNESCO, who has already developed a general entrepreneurship curriculum. And we will really focus, therefore, on the connection with the private sector, with established entrepreneurs who are willing to mentor students, offer inspiration, advice, etc. And the course, because of its practical nature, we really focus also on students getting a network of mentors, markets, and financial institutes. We focus, when we're talking about the training aspect, the teachers will receive training to be able to implement this curriculum.
I'm sorry.
Oh. Well, that's fine. I was a bit long. Yeah, no, it's a training. MHPSS includes education, student guidance. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Before we start the next slide, it's also from SINOP and also for Iraq. I would like to ask the speakers to turn on their cameras when they are speaking. Who can
Yes, hello.
Oh,
Yeah, this is
okay.
Yves Swager from SINOP as well. I will present the next project in Iraq together with partner Ambero and also the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs of Kurdistan. We will be building further on this project by on the PISA project of GIZ that has been almost completed. So we have already been finding synergy there with other donor projects. And what we'll be focusing on is the following problems. The weak link between VTCs, teachers and private sector in the regions of Duhok, Erbil in Kurdistan. And that there's insufficient attention for practical learning and the lack of trauma recognition and inclusion of minorities. So we will be focusing on, let's say, developing short courses tailored to the private sector needs, where we work with highly practical short courses with internships with the private sector. And that's the project in short. For now, I think I can keep it like that. Maybe give the floor to a question.
Are there any questions? No questions. Okay. Okay. Well, if you don't want to make use of the remaining time that you have, minute and a half.
No, only if there's other. I'm curious if there's other Iraq projects. Of course, we've been trying to line up and make it complementary with our other Iraq project. But I'm curious if there are any other granted Iraq projects that we can cooperate with.
Well, yesterday I sent a list of projects, and there are 3 projects in Iraq. But I will send it again. But it was attached to the final information, to the mail with the final information. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Then I would like to give the floor to the 3rd Iraq project from Maastricht University.
Birgit, there's a question from Maaike. Maybe.
Oh, Maaike. Oh, sorry.
Thanks, it's fine, but it's also not only for the Iraq ones, obviously, but of course, as country manager, I'm very keen to Ida's question, but also possibly for the others. Yes, one thing is, of course, to link with other TMT Plus under this call. Second, of course, is to link up with other TMT Plus, not necessarily in this call, but with the thematic priority. And then the third opportunity is to link up, of course, in Iraq or Jordan or another country with all the other partnerships that are going on, or with alumni, for example, that are experts in various ministries, for example, in your country. So this is, of course, that where country managers such as myself will support you in your work while you are implementing your TMT Plus, but encouraging this linking within your country, with your different partners.
Thank you, Maaike. Is there anyone who is going to present the next slide for Iraq?
That's me. Thank you. My name is Mohamed Meziani. I work for Maastricht University for She Collaborates. Colleague of Geraldine, who already presented her project. The project, the title is focused on improving education and employment for vulnerable youth in Iraq, with a focus on blended learning, virtual education. We will work together with 3 universities in Iraq, in Fallujah, in Baghdad, and in Erbil, more up north. And with these 3 universities, we will focus on 3 objectives. One is access to education by designing distance-based courses that students and especially vulnerable youth could access from everywhere. The second is improve the quality of education by, of course, training the participants from the universities. And a third focus is on linkage with the labor market. These 3 will be the focus of our activities that we will do together with Luminous. Luminous Technical University College is located in Jordan, and they have quite some experience in setting up courses close to the labor market and also in that region. So 4 different phases in our project. First, we will have to do a thorough needs analysis to see what is the current status within the 3 universities and see what is exactly needed, because that could be different for all the 3 universities. Then we will let them go through several courses. At the same time, they will be developing their own materials as well for their own already existing teaching. And in the last phase, they will be implementing that as well. So that's in short our project. There is much more to tell about, of course, but 3 minutes is quite short. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask them. And I'm looking also forward to work together with the other organizations that work in Iraq and that also, of course, have a similar focus as in this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next project is from Jordan.
Ja, nou, jij moet hem even uitdoen. Hello, can you hear me? There seems to be an echo. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting here together with my colleague and Sinop. So sorry for the inconvenience. There is so my name is Epke, working at Sinop. Nice to see all those familiar faces and names. So I think cooperation with many partners will indeed take place. So in Jordan, we work with the Jordanian Agriculture Engineers Association as partner, and also the partners of this association in the education sector, mainly the TVET sector. The focus is on the design of a special horticulture training program for refugee and migrant and host community target groups. Where in Jordan, especially in the Mafraq and Irbid region, the number of refugees and migrants working in horticulture is huge. In some companies, they work with up to 80% migrant people, and in many cases, these people are not skilled in the field of horticulture. So in that sense, it's very important to upgrade the skills of those target groups and promote their employability, but also promote the performance, on the other hand, of the Jordanian horticulture companies. So we will work with the horticulture or with the training center of the Jordanian Agriculture Engineers Association, and train a group of 20 master trainers and develop together with them this specific horticulture training program. Then after this, the training will be implemented, delivered to a wide group of refugees, migrants, and host community representatives in the Irbid and Mafraq region. And besides, next to that, we will set up a dissemination campaign where this TOT for this program, training program, will also be delivered to other trainers, both from the Agriculture Association as of the TVET institutions providing horticulture trainings. In addition to that, we will set up from the beginning of the project, we will set up a community of practice where this specific program will be further improved, and where horticulture training and the specific needs of the target communities will be further discussed on how to better improve their training and employment opportunities. Then we will use this program for reviewing the current curricula of TVET formal education and training providers in order to improve their curricula and to better tailor their programs also to the needs of the refugee and migrant groups. Fourth is a campaign and awareness and promotion campaign for the horticulture and wider agriculture that we will undertake with the newly established Sector Skills Council for Agriculture. We will do this mainly together with the ILO. The ILO is a partner or an informal partner in our project.
Epke, your time is...
So Epke. This campaign will address also specifically migrant and refugee target groups in attracting them to education and employment in the horticulture sector. An important partner, also implementing partner of our project, is Welland College. It's the biggest TVET college in the Netherlands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. The next one is from Ikra in Jordan.
Yes, good morning from Colombia. Even if I work for Ikra in Wageningen, I'm currently stuck here in Colombia. And I'm introducing the project Improving Education and Employment Prospects for Jordan and Syrian Youth in the Agri-Food sector through a connected and inclusive entrepreneurship program. This project is based on some priorities like improving access to education for Syrian refugees on the one hand, and on the other, tapping on the potential of the agricultural sector in the north of Jordan, and also on creating partnerships with the private sector in Jordan. Our partners are the Jordan University of Science and Technology, and Luminous Education based in Jordan, and Advanced Consulting, who are also having another project very similar to the one of my previous speaker. And that's why it's really interesting to see where we can work together. The objectives of this project is to develop the capacity of staff to design an extracurricular program on entrepreneurship, which we hope will give Syrian refugees access to education, as the formal education of a university is not yet possible. So with an extracurricular program, we would get them linked to the university. And we also see it important to develop the pedagogical skills of the teaching staff to engage with this target group, and develop their employer engagement skills so that the students are able to get an education that prepares them well for the labor market needs of the private sector.
1 minute left.
Yes. Did you put the second slide as well, or is it only one slide? Then we move to the second slide, so you can see in one picture how this project is set up. We will engage with stakeholders at the beginning of the project to assess the labor market, do the teacher skills analysis and the training scoping. And with these results, we will move on to the training delivery of pedagogical skills, the development of this extracurricular entrepreneurship program, and incorporation of a market-oriented approach. Finally, we will test this extracurricular program in the final part of the project and coach master trainers so they can coach other staff of the university. And finally, foster networking and partnership development with the agricultural private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the alarm, by the way. Okay. The next one is for Jordan as well.
Yes. Good afternoon. This is Gaia Blom from The Hague Academy speaking. I would like to shortly present this project in Jordan, which we called Building Teachers' Capacities for Inclusive TVET Education in Jordan. And we are going to implement this at The Hague Academy for Local Governance together with Luminous and Mastery for Business and Training Development. You have already heard that Luminous is already involved in some other project. I would just very shortly, a few seconds, would like to give the floor to Ayman, my colleague from Luminous, to present himself and to present Luminous, please. Would that work, Ayman?
Yes, thank you, everyone. My name is Ayman. I work for Luminous as a project manager. I manage a couple of projects at Luminous Technical University College. Actually, this university college established in 1980s under the name of the Quds College. Luminous aims to offer a unique programs based on identified market needs and employment requirement. Actually, we are market driven. The university college develops entrepreneurial and career training for the students, equipping them for the real world and its economic challenges. That's in brief. Thank you, Gaia.
Thank you, Ayman. And Noor, are you there? Could you present yourself shortly?
Yeah, thank you, Gaia. Hello, everyone. I'm Noor from Jordan, working in Mastery for Business and Training Development and partnering with the Hague Academy and Luminous. We focus in Jordan on local development projects, and we work based on partnership. And I leave this for Gaia because she is limited on time. Thank you, Gaia.
Thank you, Noor. Thank you, Ayman. So together we are going to work on this project, and we would like to tackle actually the problem of dropout at Luminous, which is mainly amongst refugees, amongst Syrian and mainly Palestinian refugees. So we would like to tackle this by focusing on the application process, but also on diversifying and strengthening the teaching methods and skills of the teachers. So we are going to set up a training program which is focused on developing the skills of teachers more on adult and brain-based learning and more interactive training techniques, and also to work on encouraging students more in regard to independent learning and also trauma-sensitive teaching. So there are different topics which we will discuss, and we have like approach that we will focus on master teachers and teachers. So in the end, the master teachers will also train other teachers so that it becomes a sustainable project. So that's very, very shortly, and we are very happy to work together also on the other projects and learn more also from others which I heard are also working on trauma-sensitive teaching and also working with teachers. So I think there's enough chances to exchange. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, you were exactly on the dot. I see already contacts being established, so that's very good. Let's continue with the next slide. It's from Kenya and MDF. Suzanne, I guess.
Yeah, hi, hello everyone. It's so nice to see you all and to meet online and to hear all about your very interesting projects. And I hope we can keep in touch even after this webinar, of course. I'm Suzanne. I'm the Director of MDF Training and Consultancy based in Nairobi. And colleague Lois is here from the university. Lois, can you introduce yourself? Oh, can the slide go back?
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Oh.
Yeah, other way.
Sorry.
Dr. Lois? Oh, okay. Maybe later. So Dr. Lois is the Education in Emergency Specialist of the University of Nairobi. And our program is in partnership with the University of Nairobi and also in partnership with the VU, the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam, where I used to study myself. But we have an outreach beyond Kenya as well, because the University of Nairobi is part of a network of 4 African universities that are all involved in education in emergencies. So these universities include the Moi University in Kenya, the Somali National University, and the University of Juba. So all of them have already curricula, diploma courses that are very suitable for teaching in refugee context. However, most of these programs are at the moment not what we call refugee ready. That means they are not fully adapted to be able to give online, so that really refugee populations can access these courses. They don't follow the minimum standards for education in emergencies. There's a lack of psychosocial kind of modules. So our mission is to make all of these curricula refugee ready. And we do this by training the University of Nairobi on digitalization, how to make their programs more remotely. Teacher training is part of it. We also have scholarships where actually students that will become teachers from the refugee populations in the refugee camps in Kenya, we have huge refugee population in Kenya, will be able to access these programs. So we will provide for tuition for that. Then together with the VU, University of Amsterdam, we will develop new modules on psychosocial. There's a bit of investment, like probably in all your projects as well. And then we have an inclusiveness and gender mainstreaming component. And the interesting thing, you'll see the block here on the right, the orange block, is that the network itself, which just has started, is a very unique network. We are going to help them to get started, to get their partnership, to help them with their fundraising. Donors are also supporting the network. So it's a real joint complementary kind of project. I don't know what's my time, and if Lois is there.
Yeah, sorry, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lois, as Susan has said. I work for the University of Nairobi, and I coordinate education in emergencies. We are very happy to partner with MDF to implement this particular project. I also sit in the African University Network for Education in Emergencies, and we are looking forward to having more partners coming together. And I'm excited to hear all the projects that have been done in this particular call. Thank you so much.
Yeah, excellent. All right, that's it. Very good.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Jorn Dommens from the Center for International Cooperation at the VU Amsterdam. You just heard it in the previous presentation. I'm here together with my colleagues Colette Gerard and Mekki Zaidi, and we've also invited our partners CIS College, Wael, hopefully you could also make it, and Adam from Spark. So CIS College is a TVET institution that has a lot of training centers throughout Lebanon. And Spark is an NGO which is creating jobs for young people in fragile states. So we partnered with these two organizations. My slide just went away. So our project it's called Brighter Futures, and aims to support Lebanese TVET institutions and organizations to enhance the quality education for refugees and host communities. So Al Qaira One, which is the lead requesting organization, is a TVET institution which is located in the rural area of Bekaa. And this area is adjacent to the Syrian border and hosts the largest number of Syrian refugees residing in Lebanon. And the institution provides vocational education and also technical education, for which students can receive also a certificate, which is, by the way, also recognized by the authorities in their home country, in this case, Syria. Additionally, we work with two NGOs, Learning Through Action and Renovation and Development Association, which are also focusing on education, community and health support services in the area. is it possible to show the next slide? So in this project, we will mainly focus on 3 areas. That is the removal of access barriers to education by setting up a computer lab and also setting up a virtual learning environment in which blended learning or online learning activities can take place. Secondly, the performance and quality of teaching education and learning, adopting the training of trainers model for innovative teaching skills, also to set up and revise competence-based curricula, and provide psychosocial support for both students and also teachers. And then lastly, making labor market linkages to increase the job opportunities, which links to the next slide, which is about the areas for synergy and cooperation. So hopefully we can link up with other partners who are also providing services in these areas. One thing we wish to do is to set up a multi-stakeholder platform to better link graduates to the labor market, also to learn and explore with other partners the alternative and more sustainable means to secure livelihoods for refugees and in host communities, especially because not all they are not allowed to do all the jobs. And lastly, to establish a youth innovation lab for students to develop the business ideas from business plan to implementation, which is easier said than done. So also in this regard, we would very much like to link up with other initiatives that seek to help young people to start their own businesses. Thank you so much. And if anyone, if Wael or Adam is present, and if you would like to add anything, please go ahead.
I suggest we continue. If that's okay. I'm sorry, with the next slide, University of Twente, the second project in Lebanon.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alberto Martinetti, work at the University of Twente. I speak on behalf of my colleague Peter Chimoina, that is here with us, and B-Link Academy, and from our partners, Yarmouk University in Jordan and the National Institute of Social Care and Vocational Training in Lebanon. So you see that we have kind of Lebanon, but also Jordan involved in our project. Our project is learning and development for a sustainable future for refugees and host communities. Basically, the overall objective of our project is to contribute to increase quality education, but also technical and vocational training for refugees and internally displaced person and host communities, as I said, both in Jordan and Lebanon. As UT and B-Link Academy, we would like to focus basically on some specific needs that has to be tackled or subject that need to be taken into account, such as organizational development, indeed curricula development, digital in connection with digital economy specifically, entrepreneurship, development of young innovation lab, maybe it's in connection with the previous project as well, and then gender issues and psychological issues for refugees. All together in connection with the private sector and in order to build a sustainable relationship with that. That's it really in a nutshell, our project. I have a question maybe for the NUFIC that are hosting us, is that we see, we already said that there are opportunities to connect with the other projects presented and granted in this area. Now the question is, do we also have maybe budget to allocate within our approved budget to organize meeting all together physically, and well, online is a bit more easy.
Maybe Jeroen or a country manager could answer that question.
Can also be answered later on.
Okay. Okay. So we will.
Thanks.
Well, if I may ask, add something, I think you there's under the lines communication or other costs. I think if you haven't taken it into account in the beginning, I guess you might be able to shift within the you know, below the 5 and 25%. So then I guess it shouldn't be. I mean, we encourage any freedom that is below this limit of 25%. So of course, we think it's very important to have this synergy. So please do.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie. The next slide is for Sudan, Maastricht School of Management.
Hello, everyone. My name is Antonella Anastasi, indeed from Maastricht School of Management. I'm the project manager of this project. The project director had to go to a different meeting, so I will take over with the presentation. The project title, as you can see, is strengthening the capacity of the Ministry of Labour and Social Development, which is our partner, staff and its partners to enhance relevancy, provision and management of the TVET curricula and programs for IDPs and refugees. Our objectives are to contribute to economically empower IDP and refugee women and men among their host communities by improving their ability to find employment or establish and grow their businesses through expanding and improving market-oriented, equitable and gender-balanced TVET. Change management in the ministry, within the Ministry of Labour and Social Development, which includes stakeholder engagement, policy coherence, and also formulating policies pertaining to the economic integration of refugees. And finally, improving TVET policy formulation and implementation, including the introduction of online training. And in this regard, a pilot project will be organized to demonstrate online training and technology-enabled learning. Concerning change management, we plan to support improved organizational and institutional capacity of the ministry in placing policy frameworks, roadmaps, and instruments aimed at enhancing the relevance and delivery of the TVET training and services to IPDs and refugees, and improving at the same time partnerships and engagement of state and local institutes, private sector actors, social enterprise, and TVET institutions. Here you can see the first steps that we are starting to implementing. We already start to have contact with the ministry. So the first step would be stakeholder mapping and analysis, then the formulation of a training program for selected staff of the ministry, gap analysis policy framework, so understanding the obstacles to refugees and IDP integration, need assessment for the TVET with focus on technology-enabled learning, and finally identifying topics for a pilot, for instance, which skills do refugees and IDP needs, and specific location for the pilot. Thank you.
Thank you very much for keeping track of time. Huh? Thank you. The next slide is for Uganda. It's Sinop.
Hi. Oh, we have some issues with the sound again.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Hi, for Uganda, we have the Inclusive Vocational Education for Entrepreneurship Perspectives in Agriculture, or IVPA program. We work together with Agra at the Adra Agricultural College. Brother Lagu is also here today, and coordinate, but also with 4 technical institutes. We will be working in the West Nile region, as it is the region with most refugees from South Sudan.
And together with the 5 colleges, we will be creating a entrepreneurship program in agriculture. Most households are involved in agriculture, both from the refugee and host community. But the private sector is almost non-existent. So that's why you really want to focus on entrepreneurship, because self-employment is a really important strive. Our project consists of 3 phases. We have the inception phase, in which we want to build the curriculum, the training phase to get teachers ready and train them in inclusive education, and the pilot phase to really have groups of students, 50% from host community, 50% from refugees, really conducting or starting the program. What is maybe interesting to mention is that for the training phase, we also have an activity in mind in which peer-to-peer learning on inclusive education for refugees is key. And we really wanted to travel with a group of teachers to a similar project in the region. We were first thinking about Ethiopia, but the options are open. So it would be great to see if there is a similar project in a regional country, and see if we can link up and maybe work together on this peer-to-peer learning activity. Brother Lagu, I'm not sure if you're there. I think you are. Maybe you could introduce yourself also.
Hello, my name is Nina Jacobait. I'm a PhD candidate from the University of Twente in the Netherlands, and yeah, I'm looking forward to learn more about it, about your projects here. So I'm taking part in the project between Lebanon and Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you. I was I think Brother Lagu is at the moment not here yet. Hope to have him here later.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ober Wango, working for Educans, and I will be presenting the project on behalf of my colleague Yvonne, who had to leave at a certain point. Well, let's say to start, I would say that we are working in consortium with 2 other organizations, namely World Child Holland and NRC. And the project consists of, let's say, building the capacity of 3 organizations. DIT, which is the Directorate of Industrial Training in Malawi, and sorry, not in Malawi, in Uganda, and 2 TVETs. The project has 7 components and is implemented in the region of West Nile, like this is my predecessor. Let's say the 2 components, the 2 first components focus on the DIT capacity building, and that focus on supporting the VET to integrate digital technology. That's the first focus. Second focus is integrating cell and skill into PSS. The 5 other focus will be targeting the TVET, and is linking skill education to the labor market, social emotion learning and life skill, and psychological social support also for the TVET. Digital literacy, active teaching and learning packages, and also agri entrepreneurship. That will be the 7 focus. The project, as I was saying, will be implemented in the Nile region. Well, that's mainly what I had to share. I don't know if there's a question of, because I understand that I'm really like very concise in my presentation. Maybe if there is a question, I can answer. No question?
No. I don't think so, not yet. Maybe later after the discussion on synergy and cooperation. So thank you very much. I think we are well in time, or a little bit over, but thank you very much. I think it's good if we go to the discussion. So thank you all for the presenters. I give the floor to my colleague Armand, who will host this part of the meeting. Armand?
Yes, Birgit, thank you. Well, thank you all for these brief but very insightful and interesting presentations of the coming TMT Plus training programs. What we would like to do now in this discussion is to find out also where we can create synergies. And it's definitely now also a discussion session where I would also like to invite all participants to bring in also ideas and suggestions. What I would like to introduce here now is that there is definitely also from another perspective, the possibility here with presenting all these TMT pluses with sharing best practices and also sharing experiences in approaches that you have been presenting now and that you're going to implement during your TMT pluses in your different countries, but also even going further that you can also initiate joint interventions wherever you see a possibility or even a need, where you can also achieve even higher levels of results and impact, where you can also share good practices and methodologies that you can use for educating refugees. I saw a number of interventions that have been repeated in a number of presentations, like multi-stakeholder platform meetings. There was also this Youth Innovation Lab, and also the creation of business plans linking up with the private sector. There were a number of entrepreneurship development initiatives presented. So I think there is lots of room there for synergies and also creating joint opportunities, linking up, sharing ideas. Now, what NAFIC will always do in different countries is that we organize workshop sessions where we discuss also the actual implementation of OKP projects or OKP TMTs. That's many times on the basis of a country or a region, or it could also have a thematic focus. For example, for the East African region, we intend to organize a webinar on security and rule of law interventions. We also intend to do this for food and nutrition security. This has a regional connotation, meaning that in the East African region, we try to bring together then implementing partners. But we could also have, for example, a review session. That's also what we intend to do for all implementing partners in these quality for education for refugees, to have at least 1 year, after 1 year of implementation, a webinar again to discuss with each other, results that have been achieved, experiences with implementation, experiences also with achieving results in terms of creating income for refugees through educational training programs. Now, what I would like to do now during this session is to ask you, where do you see, and you have now seen all the presentations of the different organizations that have been selected for this quality of education for refugees. What kind of opportunities do you see now? And that now you have seen the different approaches and setups of tailor-made training programs. Now, of course, there are opportunities, but you have, of course, limited time. We have projects, we have a program coming from Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq, but also from Uganda. There's quite some differences in regional context with regard to these countries. There are, of course, and also challenges to link up with each other and to make use of each other's experiences. But I would like to hear from you now. Where do you see then the opportunities? And yeah, where it is difficult, you can also explain this. Can I ask, for example, I saw now for my own countries in the West Nile, we have now 2 TMT pluses. For me, this is also an opportunity then where you can learn from each other. Perhaps there's even also a possibility to reach out to target groups within this area dealing with refugee education. Now that's one example, but perhaps you can also join in.
Yeah, I definitely. I think I also mentioned the same thing. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
No, I think it's good now to organize this discussion is that you raise your hand and then you just you have the room then also to present yourself and come up with the ideas.
Okay. So can I now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, my name is Obe and working for Educans. I was the last presenter. So I saw indeed, let's say, an opportunity with, let's say, my predecessor also working in Uganda. I think we are even working with the same TVETs from Amelo I've mentioned. I think, yeah, I certainly will welcome also, let's say that if we can meet or if we can create, I don't know, a platform in the ACVO, the website, if we can create a platform where we can also share experience, that would be nice. But definitely for us, it would be nice to sit with my predecessor to see, let's say, how we could work together in order to create a synergy in developing or investing in building capacity of the Tibet that we are working with.
Yeah, perhaps it's a good idea to you also now ask us, could NUFIC also facilitate a platform where you can even discuss ideas? ACVO is a tool that presents especially the projects themselves. There's not yet a platform within ACVO where partners can discuss ideas. It is something perhaps that we can facilitate by organizing this webinar again. And there were already questions about how to share contact details. Birgit already pointed out we have to deal here with the law on the registration of personal data. But if everybody is presenting its consent about sharing email addresses, of course we can do this as well after this meeting. But I think also in the first start of your TMTs, you could also approach persons from different institutions and by yourself without the interference of NUFIC. I think it would be good that we frequently then organize again a meeting where the participants, the implementers, also discuss with NUFIC how they would like to create synergies and how they can integrate this into their program. Is there anyone else from the other implementing institutions that has an idea how to create synergy, linking up also with the TMT pluses of other institutions and organizations? For example, we have 3 TMTs going on in Iraq.
Armand,
yeah.
Gaia would like to say something from HALF. Gaia has her hand up.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay, Gaia.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, no, I think it would be a great idea if it's possible to organize more thematic workshops. So online, not only, I think regional, like country-wise, would also be very valuable. So for example, we are going to work in Jordan. So for us, it would really make sense to have another follow-up meeting with the other Jordan partners and also with the embassy and the NUFIC representatives there. To, I think, exchange a bit more on what was just presented, because of course it was very fast. I mean, it was really good to have an idea of what the partners are going to do, but I would be very interested to go more in depth. So I think that would be very interesting. So country-wise, but also thematic, because as you already mentioned, like there are certain themes which we are all or different projects addressing, like entrepreneurial skills or working with teachers on didactic skills or so. I think that could also be very relevant to see what themes are there and to see how we can set up such thematic working groups just to exchange.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So some have to leave. I see there is still this questionnaire of sharing contact details, also especially the coordinators of the different TMT Plus programs. I think, yeah, if everybody is agreeing on this, that should not be a big problem.
I also have my hand raised.
Yeah, Birgit?
Well, in follow-up as what Gaia said, I think thematic workshops or country-wise or even more around a theme rather than a country would be a very good thing to do. But also, I think from the implementers' initiatives, I mean, it does not necessarily have to be NEFIC's initiative, I think, especially because it's about content and the implementation of the projects themselves or of the trainings. So of course NEFIC would also like to be invited, but if the implementers themselves also can arrange it, that would also be very good, I guess, is my opinion.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question that I already put forward in the chat? Is what is exactly the role of the education specialists in the embassies? Because they sit around the table. They sit around the table of the donor coordination, often related to refugees or to education and training. So they can also better inform us on avoiding duplication with well, the many other activities going on. So I think it's very important also to have their engagement, and would like to know what is their role as broker of information between the country, the focus country and the implementers.
What I always advise implementers to do when they start their project or their training program is to have also an introduction meeting with the embassy staff, and especially the educational officers or those who are coordinating this on behalf of the embassy. I think it is, we also have our contacts with the embassy. We'll also inform them. They already know about the selection of the organizations, but it's also good that you will also present yourself, and then you can also have an exchange of ideas on how to link up with current initiatives being supported by the embassy itself or even by other donors. Many times embassy staff have a very good picture already, even better than NAFIC, what is currently at stake and going on within a country context. NAFIC will also have these contacts with the embassy on a frequent basis, but embassy staff are many times also able to give more details about their own programs, and also where you can link up with resource persons within this country from other organizations that have similar programs going on, from Dutch programs financed by different ministries in the Netherlands, but also from other international donors. And it is very important that, it is very important that we try to align and harmonize with the different interventions of the Netherlands government. This is also what we will discuss then again during the webinars that we intend to have for the different countries or thematic areas. And I would also suggest to have this subject on the agenda again when we have this, what I call then this review session with all implementing partners for the quality of education for refugee TMTs. in my slide, I noted this date of October 2021. I think that is a very good moment. You have then behind you 1 year of implementation, and then it's also good to discuss elements of how to, what have you done in the achievement of results. You can share also your objectives already, what you have been achieving, but also the initiatives that you have been deploying in terms of creating synergies with other TMTs, and also how you have coordinated and complemented your TMT with other initiatives going on in your country context, but also in a regional context.
Thank you. Susanne from NBF is also a question.
Yes, yes. There are a number of hands. Aubert, yes. Are these also old hands? Aubert, is that an old hand, what I see?
No, Aubert is done.
Okay, okay. And Gaia, are you also done?
Yeah.
Do you have another question? Gaia?
No, I'm done. And as far as I know, I removed my hand. But
okay. I still see it raised up, and Epke is also. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Then Suzanne.
Yeah, I just want to echo, I think most has been said already, those thematic synergies in terms of, in our case, like curriculum development, teacher training, teacher competency, making curricula refugee ready. I think that is a key thing of ours and will be really great to extend that beyond our own TMT. So we will just definitely reach out to others, also for the network that we are supporting, a network of universities involved in education in emergencies. So I see Jordan, I see Iraq. It's very nice to see all the other projects. So the synergies will be created, and of course we take the initiative. We won't wait for you to call us and say, oh, let's organize a meeting. We are responsible for that. So yes, that'll work.
There are two others. Unfortunately, I don't see this. I don't see it on my screen. Who has raised a hand?
Sophie, but that's an old hand, I guess. Epke is also still raised, and Suzanne, but that's it, I guess.
Okay.
I have raised my hand as well. Can I say something? My name is Geraldine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And although it is a very brand new hand, I don't want to sound like a grumpy old lady, but to be a bit realistic, in the case of Ethiopia, for us it is very hard to establish even simple contact with our partners due to internet restrictions on top of Corona restrictions. And the project is quite ambitious. So what I see at the start is to get a common ground to work on is already quite a challenge. Of course, everybody wants to align and create synergy, and we can learn a lot from each other. But I see a reality also that it takes so much of the energy to establish a small base that it is difficult to link up at the same time and make it even bigger. So I was wondering how others look at this.
So this is definitely a challenge, yeah, which you now present here. Anyone from the group that would like to add something to this? Unfortunately, I don't see I see that someone has raised his hand, but I can't see it on my screen. Birgit, do you see who has raised a hand?
No, it's just Geraldine, Susanne still, and Epke and Sophie. Yeah.
Now, Geraldine, of course, we understand this is the synergies that we would like to see also developed between the TMTs. First of all, you'll have to address your TMT, implement it, try also to achieve at least the outputs and the impact that you have already explained and elaborated in your proposal. If you see opportunities, this is not something that is adding to it. It's also, in many times, helping you to achieve, to intensify and increase the impact of your own TMTs, and by also making use of the best practices and the results and success stories created by the other ones. It should also help you in in rolling out, trying to reach out to refugees in the most effective way through these interventions of OKP.
Yes, thank you. Of course, I understand, but I also feel sometimes like to prevent too much expectations, to set expectations so high, it is better also to see how it is going on the ground. But indeed, I agree fully with you. Thank you.
Final minute, Armand.
Yeah. I saw there are some countries that have even 3 TMTs being going to be implemented, like Iraq, for example. Mike already came with this remark, and that for NAFIC it's also important to create an integrated approach between our different modalities, being the scholarships, being the projects, being different TMTs, and then also this special TMT plus approach for refugees. We really try also to facilitate connections between these different modalities, and if you see points of entry there, you can always discuss this with the country program officer of NAFIC.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, of course, I think you'll also have to think about this, and we create some space to discuss. But for us as NAFIC, this discussion has not ended. If you can now also reflect on this for a number of days, weeks, and if you come with new suggestions, there is always an open floor to discuss this with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Armand. I guess that when everybody has taken a good look at the overview, contacts will be made. Also, I don't think projects have started yet, so that's also maybe a difficulty in this discussion. But let's go for the final part to Kim, who would like to tell us something about the communication. Kim, are you there?
Yes, of course, I'm still here. Thank you all. It was really good to hear your great project plans for what you're going to do. That was very interesting to hear. I'm Kim, working at NAFIC for communications. And after this very long meeting, I know you've been listening very long. I would just briefly wanted to, I just briefly wanted to share with you some tips on communication, because some things can be improved there. So the first tip I really want to share with you is, please, if you have any like newsletters or messages on your website or social media, any promotion for what you are doing, please also include the name, like Orange Knowledge or Orange Knowledge Program, or, well, OKP is also fine, but we really prefer to write out the whole program name. And also definitely do not forget to mention that this is funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because other people keep thinking that we fund this at NAFIC, which is not really nice. The ministry, of course, and also adding that NAFIC manages this is desirable, but for us, yeah, the mentioning Orange Knowledge and the Foreign Affairs is really top of mind. Please don't forget that. We often see it goes wrong. Please don't forget. And the second point, also quite important, if you have any doubts on should I add this, should I add that, how should I make a banner, or do you want this logo used or that logo used? We actually have a web page where there's some information on that. It's linked down there below. I think you will receive the PowerPoint later. But more importantly, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email to okp@novic.nl, because that's also connected to, for instance, me, but also other communication advisors, and we can really give you a brief, short answer to your communication questions, which really can help us all align, because we have 13 training projects here in the quality education for refugees, and it would be really beautiful if everybody uses a little bit of the same like logos or the same style of communication, because otherwise nobody sees that this is one big regional initiative actually. So if you have any questions, please just mail me. Basically, it's okp@novic.nl. And feel free to check the links on this page. There are some links for social media where we are really active. We already posted something on this kickoff today. So yeah, I want to invite all of you to be active on social media and really promote what you're doing. We're looking forward to see your results. So that's all I had to say.
Apparently the web link to the communication materials doesn't work.
Oh, well, that's possible because I made this slide for the last meeting we had, and actually we have a brand new site now, which is possible that not all the like redirections are made yet, but I will post it in the chat here. Is that okay?
Yeah, and I can change it in the PowerPoint.
Exactly, yeah.
Are there any questions for Kim?
So Kim, this is what you're saying is also described in the visibility manual, or how do you call it? The document that was, yeah, okay.
Yes, partially, but I just want to promote again, like if you have any hesitations, just ask.
We will know how to find you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think if there are no more questions.
Yeah, then I'll send the link.
Yeah, please do.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are no more questions, I would like to thank you all for your active participation. I know that it has been a long meeting, but I hope it was worth your while. And hopefully in the next year somewhere there will be another meeting to see progress in all your activities. As mentioned, I will forward the PowerPoint presentation, and I would really like to ask you, if you haven't done that yet, if you consent in sharing your contact details with the other partners. If you do, then we can include it in the list of projects, and then everybody can contact each other based on that list. You can still read the chat after this meeting is over. You don't have to look at the whole presentation again. Just read the chat if you want to look up answers to the questions that were asked. And we will also make a list of the country managers in question at NUFIC, so that you can contact them as well. If there's nothing more, or I have nothing more to add, let's see, should we send an email for the consent? If I send a PowerPoint presentation, and if you just return that mail by giving your consent, then I will include your email address in the list of projects. Okay, I see all types of consents coming in, so that's good. If anyone has anything to say, this is your moment. If not, then I would like to wish you a very nice afternoon and evening, and thank you all for participating. And thank you all for the presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you, welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Dag Brigitte.
Bye.
Groetjes.
Joep.
Misschien kom je een keer naar Nairobi.
Ja, zou leuk zijn.